and welcome back to my BookTube channel. So today's video is about my January TBR, but before I dive in and show you my TBR and my plans for it, I wanted just to mention a couple of things. First, my TBR is a mixture of both physical copies and Kindle copies. So obviously I can show you my physical copies, I've got them right here. As for the Kindles, I will talk about it and hopefully add in a picture while I talk about it. We'll see, because I'm still a bit new with all this editing, but regardless I'll still talk about it. Secondly is my TBRs are usually done at the beginning of the month. I have done my TBR, I already planned it all out. The 1st of January was on my Bookstagram, but obviously at the time I was still undecided on whether to do a BookTube. But we're finally doing it, we're here, and we're only on the 5th day of January, so I'm going to let myself off, you know, it's not like we're halfway through January. The third thing is, from now onwards, if I mention other Bookstagrammers, other BookTubers, subscriptions, anything like that, I will put in the description box their link, so if you're interested you can click on a link and it will go straight to them. So yeah, that's those 3 things I just wanted to tell you about. My TBR is a mixture of books. Most of the books that are on my TBR are for book tours. However, I will tell you about these book tours, what they are and which books are part of those book tours in a minute, because there's quite a lot of them. I will talk quickly the ones that I've picked for myself, because there's not as many to do. And yeah, but hopefully I can get through them all. I've got 18 books in total, so 10 are physical, 8 are on my Kindle. I managed to read 20 odd in December, and that was also having my 30th birthday, celebrating that, and also Christmas. So the fact that I managed to do over 20 books in December, I think I can do 18, and because some of them are on my Kindle, I read on my Kindle quite fast. I find on Kindles they're shorter, so I can flip through them quickly, and I also find that on Kindles when you read it at night it's easier. So I'm hoping, fingers crossed, that I can get through them. I have no problems with them. But yeah, we'll see. I'm not going to put any pressure on them. Obviously, the most important ones for me are book tours, because there are rules with the book tours, which I'll go into anyway. But yeah, shall we get into the TBR that I can show you? Yeah, let's just start. So we've got these 10, try and get them in, books on my TBR. So like I said, most of these are for book tours, only a couple are basically ones that I've picked. So I'm just going to do the ones that I picked first, because it's a lot easier to talk about. So the first book that's I picked for me, but it's also a buddy read, is The Thursday Murder Club by Richard Osman. So I am doing a buddy read with this book with Hannah, who's my book bestie. She's known as Bound by Crime. Like I said, I'll put all of the tags in my description box. I've known Hannah since I started my Bookstagram journey. She was one of the first people I talked to. We got on really well. We both like crime thrillers, so we were talking a lot about like what books we read, which ones were our favourites, which ones we recommended. On top of that, the more we started talking, getting to know each other, she's also got the same disease that I have. So it was nice to talk to someone who has the same health problem, and also like for her when she's poorly, like how I am, we turn to books to just sort of make us feel at least a little bit better. So yeah, she has been my book bestie from the start. I love her to bits. We've done one book buddy read already and that failed miserably. We picked the wrong book, we both hated it, but it was still nice to buddy read with her. We both said that if we weren't buddy reading it together, we both wouldn't have finished the book. But we both picked this one. I'm really excited, she's really excited. I actually gifted her this for Christmas and said, can we buddy read it? And she was up for it. She wants to read this book so much as well. In the Bookstagram community, this has been raved about so much. Like, I think every time I scroll through my feed, this book is there quite a few times. So far, I've not seen a bad review. I've seen most people give it 4 or 5 stars. And I'm really excited to read it. I also like the fact that this is by a celeb, but instead of it being either a memoir or a biography of them, this is actually a fiction book. I like the fact that for the first time round, someone that I have noticed has done a book that isn't about them. It's in fact a fiction and it's about murder, which is perfect for me. So yeah, this is going to be a buddy read. I can't wait to start it. I'm hoping to start it today, because I know for well I probably read this quite fast because it sounds really good. So I'm thinking if I start it and pace myself and read other books alongside it, I won't finish this so fast. And it means between me and Hannah we can read it in our pace, because sometimes I will read it and finish it before her, and it means, you know, I don't want her to feel pressure that she has to finish it. So yeah, that's my plan. I think I'm going to start at least read a couple of chapters and then I can just go in and out with it. So that's that one. The next 2 books I'm going to show you are part of a book club. One is an actual book club pick and the other one sort of a sideline book club, which I suppose in hindsight you can call it a big massive group buddy read. But I'll do the book club one first. Ugh, I said that a bit wrong, didn't I? So the book club I'm in a few, but this is the one that I've been participating a bit more in, because the other book club that I'm in, the recent books that have been picked, I've already read them, so I didn't really want to reread them because they weren't particularly brilliant books to me. So this book club I'm in is by Molly. She is known as Bookscape Books. This will be put down. So Molly is a bookstagrammer, but she also does a book small business. So she documents her books that she reads, but on top of that she does book box subscriptions, she does a book club, and she's just started a podcast, which is fab. I've done 2 podcasts on there and I just love it. And she is just starting her own BookTube channel as well. So I'm, you know, she's fab. She's doing really well, and honestly, please go and support her because she's a fab girl and what she does is fantastic. And you know, the small business that she's doing alongside her full-time job, which is a paramedic, and with a pandemic and everything, she is pretty much a boss babe. So yeah, she has a book club. Her book club's different to some. So a lot of book clubs, you have a choice of a few books to pick. You pick your favourite, and the overall winner, that's the one you read. But as for Molly's book club, it's a surprise. So she'll pick the books, she sends them off with chocolates, and it's only until you open that parcel that you know what book it is. Sometimes she gives us clues, sometimes she does tell us depending on what kind of book it is, because we've had a few issues about trigger warnings and all that. But most of the time it's gone down a treat. I have not read a single book from book club that I've not enjoyed. I've enjoyed every single one of them. So January's pick is a non-fiction book, which is our second non-fiction book in book club, and it is Serial Killers at the Movies. So basically it is real life crimes that have been used to make movies. Now this fascinates me. Like, I am a big crime thriller fan, but you know, when I read books, to me it's fiction. When I watch movies, I don't think it's real life. But this actually says that there are some films that have actually taken from real life crimes, and I can't wait to find out what movies I've watched that actually are based as a real life crime. It sounds fascinating. It's only a tiny short book, so it's not going to be a hard read or long read, but I can't wait to dive into this. And I always find with non-fictions, I can read this alongside other books because, you know, it's a non-fiction. I find I can dib and dab through it. So this is actually quite handy because the amount of books I've got to read, I can sort of read this alongside other books. So I'm really excited to read this, and I can see big things. I kind of feel this is going to be a 4 or 5 star read for me, so we'll certainly see. Also, so this is still part of the book club, but it's a sideline book club. So it's After Ever Happy, which is the 4th book of the After series. So Molly is a big fan of the After series. Now, I didn't know it was a book series. I watched a movie, I hated the movie, I didn't know it was a book. And then when Molly said that it was books, like from a book series, I was like, well, if it's anything to go by the movie, then I'm not really seeing the book series to be any good. But she proved me wrong. She told me that the books are better, that the first movie was pants, but she just recently watched the second movie and she said that was way better because the author Anna actually got involved in that movie. So she pulled my leg and I was like, oh, I really want to read them. And so quite a few of us were quite interested in reading them. There were a few people who were happy to reread the books. So we decided to do a massive big group buddy read, and each month, I'm getting all my words messed up today, each month it was like the next book from the series. So this is the 4th book. Now, I'm not sure whether I'm going to read this because I'm currently still reading the 3rd book, which is After We Fell, and it is a massive book. It's like about probably that thick, and I probably read like a third of it. So I really need to finish that before I start this. So I'm not sure whether I will be reading this month. I think I'm going to start lagging it and be a bit behind because the 3rd book is chunky and I haven't at all made a dent in it, and I've got so many book tours that I really need to put my focus in first. So this book, unless I breeze through number 3 really fast, I think this might not be read. But it will do, it just might be read in February instead. The last one that I chose, and this was literally my complete choice, it's not like a book buddy, it's not a book club, it's my own choice that I picked. It is An Ember in the Ashes. So, funny thing is, I brought the USA copy. Now I'm from the UK, but it doesn't really bother me. It's going to be the similar, it's pretty much going to be the same, isn't it? But yeah, this book is a Bookstagram made me do it. If you are a Bookstagrammer, you know exactly what I mean. If you're not, then basically it is a very raved about book that everyone buys, and this is one of them. So for me, fantasy is one of my favourite genres. Like, I love crime thrillers, but I love fantasy because it takes me into a complete different world and I really get out of my head, like I'm in whatever the book is about, that world. And I just love fantasy. There's something about it that just draws me in. And this has been on my bookshelf for ages, and it's literally been a book where I've been so wanting to read, but I've just not had the time to. And I keep thinking, no, I need to do these books, I'll come back to it. And this month I was like, no, I don't care, I need to read it. Like, even if it's just one book for myself that I can read, it has to be this. This was floated around a lot on a lot of Bookstagrammers who solely read fantasy books. I needed a couple more fantasy books because at the time I didn't have that many books in fantasy, and I just wanted to get a bigger collection. So I went on a couple of bookstagrammers that I really liked their feed and had a look what recommendations they had, and this was mentioned a lot. A load of people say how amazing it is. A load of people have given it 5 stars. The downside to this though, it is a series. I've only got book 1 and I'm on a book buying ban, so if this is as fantastic as people say it is and as fantastic as it sounds, I can't just read book 1 and then not read the rest of the series. That's not me. Like, if I read something in the series and I love it so much, I need the rest to know what's happening. So I'm in a book buying ban. I really need to stick with the book buying ban because I've got 416 books to get through. So yeah, the book buying ban is probably not going to happen, because if this is as epic as it sounds, I need to know the rest of the books. But yeah, I'm really excited to read this. I can't wait. I'm going to read this sort of last because it's not massive. It's also really floppy. I love floppy books, and there's loads of pretty illustrations in here as well. There's like a beautiful map in here. Anyway, I've gone completely off topic to what I was about to say. But yeah, I'm going to read this sort of near the end of January, because I know full well I am going to probably binge this, and I'd rather do that near the end so I can enjoy it more. So yeah, they're the books for me. The rest of the books that I am showing you physically is part of a book tour. So I am part of 2 book tours, but this one that I'm just going to mention at the minute is Love Book Tours. Basically, these 2 amazing women run it, Kelly and Meggie. They are fantastic. I love them both. They are really hard workers. It's just them, and they literally work so hard. And you know, even through the Christmas holiday that they have, they still popped in and sort of helped some of us out, which, you know, it's meant to be their holiday break. They're meant to have a rest, and the fact that they still took their time off to help some people, it just shows exactly what amazing people they are. But yeah, so book tours, depending which book tours you're in, but the book tours that I'm in, you basically go on a sign up form, you put all your details in, and they majority of the time accept you, and basically they just send out tour invites. If you're interested in that book, you then reply back to say you're interested, whether you want a physical or Kindle copy, and you basically pick a date from the dates they give you, like the dates that like the tour runs, and your job is to read that book and review it on the date spot that you've been given. Now, most book tours, they do not like any reviews under 3 stars. So if you do 3 stars or more, it's fine. Now, obviously, some books you might read and you really not like it, and depending on how early in it is that you don't like it, like if you're literally reading it and your tour spot's the next day and you say you can't finish it, then that obviously is a bit rude. And because this is a gifted book to you, the publishers and the authors are gifting it to you, so you can, you know, give them an honest review and just help publicize these books. There are obviously rules, but majority of the time, you know, it's easy. If you have any problems, as long as you air it, there is some way of sorting it out. It might be that you know, give the book back if you're quite still, you know, you're not near your book stop yet, or you might just do a book blitz, or like a little little extract of the book and all that. But I've not had any problems. I've managed to review mine on time. I was late on one and just said, look, can I do it a week later, and they were fine with it. All you have to do really is put all the special tags in, say that it's gifted, and just do a really honest review. Basically, you are doing the publishers and authors a big favour by just promoting the book. Some books are, you have been gifted, are before they be published, which are ARC's Advanced Reader's Copy. Other books have already been published, but it's still, like, you know, it's not a very known book, so it's there. So you're basically there publicising these books. So yeah, I've got a couple, so I'll just show you. I can't remember what half of them are about, so by the time I read them I might know. The first is The River Reflects. Honestly, I can't remember what this is about, but it looks cool. I would read what it's about, but it's going to take ages. I kind of think it's like a book about identity and finding yourself. We'll see. Next is Morgan Le Fay. It's a big, massive, chunky book. It's Giants in the Earth. It is a series. This is book 3. I've already read book 1 and book 2. They're alright. They're not my favourite, if I'm going to be totally honest. Basically, it sort of follows the history of Morgan and Arthur, but in a different way, because obviously the TV series that I watched, Morgana in Arthur, the TV series, is not very nice. But in this, she is 5 years old, and so far she's like just finding her magic. It's very historical. It's very religious. Now, I'm not a religious person. I'm not against it, and you know, I'm quite happily read it. But there is a lot of religious references in here, and it can be a bit too much, personally, for me. Also, it took me a long while to get used to the fact that some of the main characters in the books are 5 or 6. But the author, Joanne Blanco, did explain to say back in those days, kids were very educated, and you know, they were actually very, you know, they weren't just like kids that we know now who just, you know, they have fun and everything. Back then they had to read, they had to write, they had to learn a lot. So that did clear things up, and as you get into the books you do kind of forget that she's 5. Like, I have just pretended that she's a teenager. They are good. I really like the magic side of things. Once it talks about the fantasy elements and the magic, I really enjoy. There's just a lot of stuff in it. Book 2 was quite political, and I don't do politics. I really hate them. So I was a bit, oh, and there was a few times I just wanted to skim read it. But this is book 3. It's massive, but I really want to see what happens and how it all ties together. Then the next is The Mirror Souls. I am actually currently reading it. I am about, how many pages am I in? 87 pages, and I'm on chapter 8. This is a dystopian sci-fi fantasy. It's called The Mirror Souls. It's pretty much, from the gist of it, that they're saying that a mirror soul is you have someone else that has part of your soul, and you're destined to be together. It's very sci-fi to me, and I haven't read much sci-fi books, and I'm actually quite glad that I'm starting this, because I have quite a few. I've got about 6 sci-fi fantasies that are in my bookshelves, so this is quite a nice introduction to how that world is. But so far I'm loving it, and I will be finishing this soon anyway, because it's not that big book. But when I was gifted this, I was also gifted amazing artwork. Like, it's beautiful, and it's all the characters, and the main characters, it was the artwork of them. It just was a nice little touch. But yeah, I really see this being a good book, and it's really fascinating so far, and I'm only at the start, so yeah, I see good things for that. The next is The Lost Truth of April Dark. This is sort of a supernatural fantasy book. Basically, April has got a disease, and this sounds so blunt, but she dies from it. And the story sort of goes that this was probably her destiny, like her destiny was to die, and she goes to this different universe, and it's full of mystery and magic elements and a lot of adventure. And I think it's sort of, she learns who she actually is. It's interesting. I've had this book on my shelves for a while, because I was this came quite early on, before my tour spot is, So I did read a couple of chapters already just to see the feel of it, and I was drawn from chapter 1, and I always find when I am drawn to a book straight away that they usually mean they're going to be good books. So yeah, I can see good things for that. The next 2 books are part of a series, so it is Spirits of Vengeance, The Stones of Spirits, and then the next book is Spirits of Vengeance, The Assassin of Aranek. Not sure how you pronounce that, but A, beautiful covers, B, fantasy. I love fantasy, and I like the fact that I have to read book 1 and then I have to read book 2, so I like the fact that there's no gaps between it. They are 2 very chunky books, so I'm hoping to get to read them and, you know, finish them and manage to do it all. But yeah, it's sort of, it sounds fascinating. It's very like, it's like quests, and it's to find ancient artifacts and stuff, but it's also about saving the world, but also on top of that it's like magical creatures, it's finding yourself, and this one is like sort of the climax to it. But yeah, so they're the physical books. I then have on my Kindle another 8 books, but 2 of those 8 are from a different tour, but I will mention that tour in a minute. So the first on my Kindle, which I hopefully might be able to put here, is called Priceless. This is a self-help parent book. I've already read it. I have drafted my review for it, but I gave it 4 stars, I think, 4 or 5. It's basically, instead of your usual parental self-help where it tells you what to do, this is more of a mother telling her children, like it's sort of like mother's letters to her children. So it sort of tells your children, like, you know, be yourself, all these things. It was really lovely, and it was, in some sense, I felt like it helped me personally, just as me as a person, to remember some of these things. I liked how honest she was. She like wrote to say, like, you know, her relationship with her daughter at the moment isn't brilliant, and I liked that she was honest about that. Like, she wasn't lying to say actually her parenting skills are epic, her children love her to pieces and all that. No, you know, she is having some problems, especially with her daughter. So I really enjoyed that she was honest, and on top of it she included quotes. So she had like Janet Jackson, it was Barack and Michelle Obama on there, Martin Luther King Jr. There were so many different people with their different quotes, and I just loved it. It was very different to some self-help books that I've read, and I just liked it. It just felt quite personal, and it wasn't sort of a, you know, tell you how to be a parent, because I hate it when some do that, because, you know, your children is your child. They have their own personalities. They're not the same as other children out there. Your child is unique to everyone else. So your parenting skills is going to be unique, because it's going to go by who that child is. So I like the fact that it was, you know, not in your face. It was more of a letters to her kids to say, you know, be yourselves, be true to who you are, and all of that. So I like that. The next is Recon. That is a sci-fi fantasy. It's sort of about aliens and planets and like a war. I'm really excited to read it. The cover of it, if I can show you, the cover on it looks fantastic. And I'm really intrigued about this one because, like I said, sci-fi fantasy isn't one that I've read. And I have got Aurora Rising that is on my bookshelf, and I'm kind of hoping that these sci-fi fantasy that I'm reading will ease me into like the terms of it all. Next is Keep Walking Rona Beach. I can't remember what this book's about. I think it's another like coming of age, learning who you are type thing, I think. We'll find out, like once I do my monthly wrap up, I can tell you what the story's about then. Next is Killing Tracy is it Titmus? I think so. If I'm wrong, I'm sorry. This is sort of a memoir biography. it's a non-fiction book, and it is about this woman's journey of breast cancer. Now, I'm preparing myself to have a box of tissues next to me when I read this, because I think this is going to be a very emotional roller coaster, and I think I'm going to cry, but it's going to be a very moving book to read, I think. Next is The Fire Children. Now, this actually is a physical copy, but I have not got it yet, so I'm hoping it will come, because I haven't found any Kindle PDF version, so we'll see. But that is a middle grade fantasy, so it's I think it was between ages 9 to 12. I quite like middle grade books. I think sometimes they're very easy to read, and you know, they're not nasty books, they're just simple to read, and yeah, it sounded quite fascinating. And next, and the last one from my Kindle for Love Book Tools, is Hunting Hidden Shadows. That is a fantasy book. It pretty much self-explanatory by the titles. The cover for this looks amazing too, and I'm really excited for it, because like I said, fantasy is my favourite books, and I do tend to just breeze through them quite fast, so I'm excited for that one. I think that one's going to be a high rated one. The last two books on my Kindles, they're with another book tour, that's Blackthorn Tours. Again, I'll put all the details on there. They are a different book tour. Now, they are classed as dark fiction. If you didn't know what dark fiction is, it's for mature readers. So their books are very gruesome, they are very triggering, they are quite, yeah, they're definitely for mature readers. I have read 3 books, well, I've read 2 books with their tours. The first, I did have 3, but the first book I read was too much. It was a bit, no, I can't read this. I was too uncomfortable, and there was like an uncomfortable element through it, and then there was a different element on it, and I didn't understand that, so I ended up having to say, look, I can't read it, you know, what do you want to do? So I got taken off that spot. I felt really bad, because it was my first ever tour spot with them. It was my first ever tour, and I couldn't, you know, I think I read about 10 chapters and I had to stop. So they're not for everyone. I can handle most books, even triggering books to me personally, I can handle, sort of, just because I can sort of have it, take it by the chin and like that. I won't say they don't bother me, they can do. So they're a dark fiction, they are very gruesome and stuff like that, so it's a bit of it's more crime thrillers, it's more a bit science fiction type thing, and it's a lot of horror as well. So I read 2 from them. The first one that I read, I didn't enjoy it. It wasn't so much the book, it was just the plot. It was just very rushed for me. But the second one that I read was 13 short stories. It was like classed as a magazine thing. It was very like it was called Magazine something, and I never heard of it before, but like I really enjoyed it. It was 13 little mini stories in it, and they were all like either crime thrillers, they were either horror, or it was like suspense thriller. And there was a good 5 books in that 13 that I absolutely enjoyed. So the 2 books that I'm reading for Blackthorn Tours, the first one is A Twist of Karma, which is a crime thriller. I can't remember what it's about. The next one is The Haunting of Gallagher Hotel, which is a suspense thriller / horror. That's self-explanatory as well by the title. It is literally a haunted hotel and all the comings and goings about all of that. So I'm quite excited for those 2 books. They sound more me, and I think they won't be, well, they're going to be gruesome because of what the tours are, but I think I will like the books and like some of the others. So I'm excited for them. I'm excited especially for The Haunting of Gallagher Hotel, because I don't read a lot of horror books. I used to be a massive big horror film fan, but when I became a mother, it was like a mother's worst nightmare, and I just couldn't watch it. And obviously having quite a young child, if she wakes up while I'm watching a horror movie, it's not really something you want your child to see. So I haven't really been involved with horror probably since my late teens, and they do scare me now. So I'm gonna be quite interested to see how creeped out I am with the book. So yeah, it'll be nice just to see whether I am, and if I am creeped out, I might have to read it during the day. But yeah, so there are my books. Like I said, I've got 18 in total. I probably am going to be able to manage them. Like I said, I read over 20 books in December, and that was also a busy month because I was celebrating my birthday and also Christmas. So I think I'm going to be able to read these. My predictions for them, especially my choices, I think the choices that are for me are probably going to be 4 or 5 stars. As for the book tours, they usually range for me between 3, 4 and 5, depending on how epic the books are. But I think the lowest I probably would go if I didn't enjoy it would be 3 stars. But I tend to range between 4 and 5 anyway. But yeah, I'm excited to read them. Obviously, I might be shocked and hate some of them, but I highly doubt it. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how my journey goes with them, what I think of them, and I will keep updating. I might come on now and then just to do a reading update of what I think about the books and all that. But yeah, they are my January's TBR. From February onwards, I won't be doing as many book tours just because I have so many books I need to read and get through. I want to sort of concentrate on getting through all of this lot of books before I start book tours again, because obviously book tours, when I have them, they take priority before anything else. So yeah, from February onwards, it's going to be more books that I've chosen for myself. But yeah, that's my January TBR. If you've read any of the books that I've mentioned, let me know. Let me know what you think. If any of the books sound quite good to you, or you want to hear more about their synopsis, let me know in the comments and I will briefly tell you what they are. But yeah, thank you for watching, and please subscribe if you haven't already. All my links will be in the description box, and yeah, thank you for watching.